Hello, day drinking with David. Very excited to be back. Actually, I missed vacation, but I am excited to be here nonetheless. We've got a fabulous lineup and a special new feature. We're going to be inviting my dear friend and cohort part-time Andrew Whiteley, who is recently back from paternity leave. And there it is.
Gotta get my Giants hat in here.
SFV Straight Up LA versus Bendy San Francisco. Finally on the old day drinking.
How you doing?
Been too long, brother. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just gonna put him.
Am I gonna need to go find headphones to make this thing work?
No. You sound great.
All right.
My dog is eating and my dishwasher is on, and I'm just trying to keep it.
I know how it goes.
Yeah. The rivalry, it's a partnership. Oh, you mean San Francisco, LA. Yeah, it's gonna be a good series. It's gonna be a good series.
I was thinking we should place a wager on the series.
A wager in whiskey, it must be.
It must be. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe a bottle of one of the whiskeys we're tasting today?
How about one of those Inchgour 37s, bro?
Ooh,
that's what I want. I almost opened one. I was like, this is totally irresponsible. There's none left. It's very expensive. It's gonna sell. I still want to open it.
Yeah, it's tempting to do. Luke's mellow corn. That's a reasonable suggestion.
Mellow corn. Dude, mellow corn was like so hot. Now it's totally
had a hot second in the sun.
Hot second. So hot. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna taste some. It's like almost officially whiskey season. It is whiskey. It's October. It's whiskey season. It's gotten cool in LA for the first time in what seems like 7 months. Cool. It's like 75 degrees, but still, whatever.
But there's a breeze. There's a breeze up here.
There's a little breeze or a couple clouds. It feels good. And we have a huge just bundle of whiskey.
So much good whiskey
showing up. 2021 George T. Stagg doesn't exist, guys. I want to hear the story of the car hitting our. Oh yes, someone hit our store in Redwood City. That is wild.
I was not in the store. I was off site at a meeting, but I got a phone call that said, "Hey, somebody hit the store." I thought, "Yeah, what do you mean somebody hit the store?" No, literally somebody drove right into the building. A giant hole in the side of the building, knocked a bunch of the cab off the wall.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. Somebody hits something in the parking lot every year during the holidays. It's inevitable that somebody crashes into the power pole that's inexplicably in the middle of the Redwood City parking lot. But yeah, the building's a new one. Just a full-on.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen too often. But I imagine. I imagine people are just so excited to get their wonderful wine home that they just mistake the brake for the gas or
that's something. Who knows? But yeah, unfortunately nobody was hurt. So it is just an amusing incident that nothing too bad came out of it. So
it's true.
Yeah, we're in okay shape.
But we're going to start tasting through, and hopefully we'll do more of these. We have so many amazing whiskeys to taste, and we thought it would be fun to taste them together because we obviously selected them together. We've had a bevy of incredible casks, and it's funny because the breadth of whiskey now upon us is outrageous, and it's the waterfall, the deluge continues. We'll have more and more and more and more, but we're getting close to finally finishing those pre-arrivals. So we'll actually be able to sell all these whiskeys finally, which is fabulous.
Thank you everybody for your patience. If you've bought pre-arrivals and you're waiting for them, I promise they're coming soon.
And so we're just gonna taste these whiskeys together, give our thoughts and feelings, and talk a little bit about. Then where are we going to start, Andrew? I think we'll start with the Inchgour now.
I think Inchgour makes sense. The way I have them lined up is Inchgour, Glenkeith, Tomaten, and then the rums.
So this is a single cask of Inchgour sherry butt, good color. I think it's second fill. I don't think it's first fill, but it's still got a great color.
No, it's beautiful.
Distilled in November of 1998 and bottled in March of 2021 at 56.3. This is such an
this to me is what our spirits program is really all about. Is like anytime we can get a choice blue chip distillery, okay, great, easy, the whiskey's going to be good. But it's the finding the gems like this one that just they're not expensive, they're well aged, they're delicious, they're everything you can want.
Well, Inchgour is kind of a little bit of a sleeper. It's sort of on the eastern tip of Speyside, and there are a couple of geeks who know it, but in general, there's no reason or even way to have an opinion about Inchgour because it's just not something we see. But it has always had some character, So there's so many distilleries in Speyside where you're like, well, can you really tell this from that distillery? And Dufftown versus whatever, it's like meh. But Inchgour is a little more complex, I think. And this is a freaking killer cask, though.
It's so good. It's got a lot of spice to it, just tons of fruit.
And you do have this little, because Inchgour, I don't know if it's because, but I always associate Inchgour with this coastal quality because it is literally less than a mile from the water. And not to say it's, Kleinlichie per se, but it has this slight brininess and maybe almost like a mintiness to it on the nose.
Yeah, it's like a very fresh, kind of a fresh herbal palate. A lot of almost like sweet berry fruit, which is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, the sherry is not tired at all here, but it is one of those big nutty ones. It's a little bit more on that jammy fruit.
What are we even selling this for? I didn't even look at.
It's $110.
Yeah, that's a deal. Really, really ridiculous. And where else are you going to find 22-year-old single malt for $110 at Cask Strength?
Sherry, dark sherry like that.
Basically, doesn't exist.
Only at K&L.
Yeah, dig it. Wow. I'm into that cask.
Someone's Whiskey Badgers asked about older grain. We were only able to secure one barrel of grain. The prices have gone nuts, so it's not the old days of grain.
There were a couple of casks that we passed on that were just not the right deal,
and listen, I'm all for spending money on good grain when it really makes sense, but they really have to deliver. And I find, malt is much more likely to deliver for the price point than grain. Not only because it's harder to sell and the price, especially at a higher price point, but there's so much more neutral, and they tend to go into older casks that it's sort of, there's just a lot of not so great stuff. So it made sense sometimes when it was very, very cheap or very, very old or, in between, but 17, 18, 20-year-old.
Extraordinary, right? I mean, if it's really off the charts, I'll pay for it. But
of course.
I'd like to think that I can safely blame John Glaser for taking all of the great grain whiskey off the market and putting it into his blends.
Oh my God, this Inchgour is so good. Yeah, I think, I kind of blame us, honestly.
Well, yeah.
I feel like there was no one bottling single grain, old single grain, really. And then, we started doing it, and then we kind of bought all that they had. I mean, not that they don't have it. I'm sure we'll see it come around. Whiskey Badger note, yeah, there's the John Glaser effect. No one cared about 10-year-old grain whiskey. Yeah, you're right. There is no. That said, he doesn't release a whole lot of grain whiskey. It's hedonism and hedonism, and most of what he's doing is malt.
Well, today he's laying down so much of his stuff anyway, right? I don't know if that's true for the grain. I know it is for the malts, but I assume they're doing it for grain as well.
You'd think so. So yeah, Inchgour, so much going on, lots of fruit, lots of character, lots of value there. I think that's totally going to be the sleeper of this year. A lot of the other stuff we have is is pretty obvious. Listen, we've already sold out of that Mortlock and the Blair Athol and
right. So many of the big names are just gone on pre-arrival. It's like they're, you're able to get them early. You get them at a slightly sharper price, but they go. These casks only have so many bottles in them. So,
Whiskey Wonka, which one are you referring to? Oh, the Inchgour. It's very different from the Cameron Bridge that you had. Yeah, very, very different.
Totally
much
different.
More powerful and rich. We do have a single grain coming next year. It's a 30-year-old.
Scottish bourbon.
It's yeah, we should, Andrew. It's going to be a 30-year-old North British, which is very, very good, very solid.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that cask.
Not cheap. I mean, I call it an expensive grain for us. We're used to paying, getting 40-plus-year-old stuff for $200. If this is 30-year-old for 150, but the quality is awesome. Mortlock 12 is epic. It is, and it's gone. How dare you drop Blanton's EH and ER during your live stream? Did that happen, Dan?
You can blame our receiving team for that one. We got in I think 6 bottles to the NorCal stores today. So 18 bottles total of Taylor, not a lot. So if it dropped, it's probably already gone.
No, of course it is.
Yeah.
Moving onward, let's keep this going. We got a lot to taste.
Keith, fun and fruity.
Yeah, fun and fruity Glen Keith. That's good. That's a good idea. 28 freaking years old.
This is. I was looking through our previous bottlings of Glen Keith because we've done a couple. This is the oldest Glen Keith that we have ever bottled at Cano.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. We haven't had too many, but they are pretty good.
There's like 6 or 8 of them that we've done over the years, I think.
I visited this distillery, I think, on my second trip. I mean, visited is a relative term. When I was there, it was still closed. I think they've opened it up again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty interesting, it's sort of it's the second to Strathyla, which is Bacardi's big distillery, old big distillery in Dufftown. And it's, it used to be an experimental plant for them.
Yeah. Is it Bacardi owned or is it, I think Pernod owns it now, don't they?
Strathyla. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Pernod. You're right.
I think I don't know. They do change hands from time to time.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Glen Keith was closed. Pernod. It was closed for what? 15 years? Something like that?
At least, yeah. Maybe more. I think early 90s it closed.
Yeah, and I think they reopened like 11 or 12, maybe somewhere in that time frame. So they're, this is pre-closure whiskey, back when it really did a lot of experimental stuff. I mean, they were all over the place, and today they've kind of settled in. Almost everything that I've tasted from them is like a pretty straightforward sort of easy fruity drinking. They get really cool when they're old. They're fun.
This is a second filled bourbon barrel. It's got tons of though. Whiskey Badger notes it's the technical headquarters for Chivas. Yes, of course, Chivas, not Bacardi. My bad.
And how many bottles we got out of this thing? 128 bottles out of that refill barrel after 28 years.
Not a big cask. At 56.9, this could have gone another 20.
We would have only gotten like 35 bottles out of it, but
yeah, but
but they'd be real good. It's light.
Pretty good right now.
It's really a beautiful kind of golden straw color. It's this kind of whiskey always makes me laugh when you then see like a 10-year-old whiskey out of a bourbon barrel that like looks like coffee, just wildly dark. And it's like, no, like every time I pick up the Fault Line blend, that like just beautiful light color, when there's no color in your whiskey, they don't have to get dark, but they taste really good.
Yeah. Color isn't everything.
Yeah.
This has a gorgeous nose. I mean, it's all that orchard fruit, but there's like a spice behind it. There's definitely like almost like a gingery note to it. I'm in love with that. kind of backbone and almost a floral character or a green herbal character. Not like lavendery at all, but like almost like a rosiness to it.
Yeah, like more like leafy.
Leafy, yeah,
It's not that like kind of sickly
rose
sweet
hips.
perfumey floral. It's more like leafy and rose hips. Yeah,
and lots of almost like green plums, green gauge, that sort of thing.
The 25-year-old's coming up next. That's after the Glen Keith we're tasting right now. But
yeah, Somerton's going to be next.
Yeah, it's hard to move past the Glen Keith.
Yeah, this Glen Keith is really special. That spice on the back end is so
I actually
killer.
feel bad that we each opened a bottle because there's so few. But
whatever.
I had a lot of the staff up here.
Staff deserves to taste it.
Yeah, a little jealous that I was taking these home, and I promised to bring them back, but I don't know if this one's actually going to go back to the store.
Maybe a little snort for them. They work really hard. Someone's asking Stiesel, Glengoyne 16-year-old particular, any notes? I think I put my notes up. Andrew has the samples. I think his will come up soon.
Yep,
do you not see them on the site?
I should get that up. If not later today, it'll be middle of next week. I've got the sample in my garage right now.
Chuck, the winter blend will be coming, but we don't have an ETA. Fortaleza is a disaster. Actually, this whole industry is a disaster. There's no glass. They can't put anything in the bottle.
Yeah, biggest shortage right now. I just had a meeting with Beam Suntory yesterday. Their most difficult thing is getting glass right now. That's how, supply chains around the world are just destroyed, and it's horrible for us in booze. Obviously, anybody with the pre-arrivals knows it, but it's really across the board. It's affecting everything.
Well, and also it's not simply that they can't get the glass; it's that it's so expensive to get it here.
Yep.
A container which was $3,000 or $4,000 of filled to the brim with glass is now $20,000 or $25,000. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to.
That's just for the spot on the boat.
Yeah.
That's not even.
That's not the cost of the goods.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense when you're putting a 1.5 liters of cheap bourbon into a $6 bottle. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Voila. So Fortaleza Winter Blend is coming.
What about the Fortaleza single barrel? That's what I wanted to talk to you about, is on the timing of that. Are we thinking that's next week?
I actually don't think I'm going to sell it. I think we're going to keep it for myself. Andrew, we can split it.
Just put it in the
next
bunker.
Week. They're saying next week, but they've been saying that for. They haven't been saying next week. They said it was supposed to be early August.
Yeah.
So mid October that's sort of the way things go.
Yeah.
Anytime someone commits to something, to add 2 months.
That doesn't even involve a boat.
No, just getting over the border. I think it's the glass is the big problem down there.
Don't they hand make all their glass?
They don't themselves, but it is all handmade. But I don't think that's the. I think it's just getting the labor, getting the inputs. It's the same deal.
Yeah,
and they're Fortaleza has exploded too. Just the number of people asking for that brand. I mean, it's always been popular, particularly with the aficionados. Hey, Joe's here. Hey, Joe. Fortaleza single cask coming supposedly next week. We'll see. I don't know. I am going to covet each bottle. It'll definitely be a 1 bottle limit, but might have to do something else. The other thing that I just heard about is the Hirsch single barrels are coming. Did you see those?
Yes.
Those are kind of fun.
You have a timeline on that? I haven't heard that yet up here.
A couple of weeks, honestly. I think they're coming quite soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
The Fortaleza is a Reposado in I believe it was the ex-American oak that I picked. We had a choice between French and American, and so it's not one of the darker ones, but it is exquisite. Referring to the Fortaleza. So yeah, those are the Hirsch are from an undisclosed distillery in Kentucky, but a very special one, and the price is ridiculous. We do have to. We're back to the bundles on the Hirsch though. We'll have to sell a bottle. It's a 1 bottle of normal Hirsch for a bottle of
not my favorite way to do it, but you know, you got to do what you got to do to get the right products. So
I mean, if they are going to only sell us the stuff in bundles, then we're going to do it. But that's
yep,
the way it goes.
exactly.
I'd rather sell Elijah Craig barrel proof in a bundle than not sell it at all. So
Exactly.
what's the age of the Hershes? Are all 6
What,
years
6 years?
plus?
Yeah,
Six.
6 to 7 mostly.
Cast strength. They're a couple of different. There must be a couple of different lots because they're all over the place on the proof. We didn't get to choose them, so we're not tasting them. We're just buying them.
Just we see what happens, but the pedigree
bad.
on those is supposed to be pretty epic, is the rumor. So I'm definitely
Chris,
excited.
it'll be one bottle of the Hirsch single barrel with one bottle of the regular. That's what we're hoping the bundle to be.
Yeah.
One and one.
The regular Hirsch is what, MGP?
Yes, I think it's a blend of multiple states.
Yeah, I need to look and see how they've got it labeled. I'm actually not sure. I thought it was all MGP when they launched.
I think it might be all MGP. It's good MGP juice.
It's delicious.
For some reason, bottled in Ohio, which I asked about the other day. Like, we have no idea what that is.
Huh.
But I know they've got stuff laid down at Bardstown as well. So they'll be, their own stuff eventually. I kind of wish they'd just go back to the old label. That would be great. But,
you love the old label.
Yeah, they're great. I don't know why they can't use that.
Yeah.
2 fingers, yes. One to drink neat, one for cocktails. There you go. Yeah. When is the Fortaleza dropping? Next week. Regular Hirsch is all MGP. There you go.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. And I like the new package. It's very hip looking. It's very Stranger and Stranger.
Yeah, it does look good. It's
better than the last the ugly squat bottles. Those were goofy.
You and I are big on those real old fashioned looking labels though. It's hard to
love the old fashioned labels.
How can you not love them? How can you not love those?
Bourbon's not modern. Why do we have to make it look modern? So
yeah.
But listen, if it looks good, it looks good. Anyway, back to the whiskey. Tomatin.
I must say I do love the colorful label on the Old and Rare here in the 700.
Yeah, this is their new packaging. They're gonna do.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. It's cool. Yeah, it's very, very sort of, it's very blue. Is it blue? Purple?
Yeah, it's kind of bluish purple. I don't know. I'm going to call it regal. It's regal.
Regal. Very nice word for it. It's a bit flamboyant though, a lot of flourishes and squiggly lines, but it really counts in the bottle.
The label's basically the same as the old ones. It's just
different color scheme.
Instead of the green script on the white label, it's the white script on the.
So now these are bottled as the
label.
Platinum series. We'll get to that one later.
There you go.
We have the Old and Rare Platinum.
Gotcha.
And then just the regular Old and Rare.
Is that something they've been doing in Europe for a while, or is that a new change?
This is in the last year or two.
Okay, that's not a 700s that we didn't have before issue. It's a new change.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they took when Hunter Lang broke from Douglas, they took the Old and Rare label, and then now they've distinguished between they're sort of like the sort of 20 to 30 year stuff, and then the 30 to 50 year stuff is under the Platinum label. I think that's how they sort of do it.
Gotcha. Holy smokes, that's a delicious whiskey.
Yeah, big boy.
Big, rich. It smells like a fresh apricot to me, like just tons of stone fruit. And then
it definitely has that kind of exotic wood on the back note to it.
But very, very well integrated. It doesn't. It's big, but there's no points to it. It's It's really nicely rounded.
Great nuttiness on the palate. A little water on that might help too. Let's see. Great color. Yeah, this is totally.
What is that? It's 49.3. That's a pretty easy drinker right there.
Yeah.
I normally have a little bit of water sitting on my desk here, but I actually don't. What does that open up a lot with a drop or two of water?
Yeah, you get a little bit more of that obvious Oloroso character, a little bit of leatheriness, a little bit more nuttiness now. Cuts the fruitiness a bit. Live to Swim asks about Ohio whiskey. Yeah, mostly craft stuff. I think it's just the bottling for Hirsch in Ohio. I know Ohio, Tom's Foolery isn't using that, but it isn't being used in the Hirsch blend of any kind. But God, this is a lot going on, huh?
I could drink this all winter.
Mm.
And this comes in that beautiful lacquered box. If people haven't seen it.
Does come in a fancy box.
Wonderful gift. Whoop. Great little insert with some info about the whiskey there. Yeah, that's I think, what are these, $250?
Yeah, that's a spicy meatball right there.
That's a home run right there for a nice gift. That's, you're not cheaping out, but you're not going nuts either. So, obviously price point's a personal decision for people, but I think that, you got the nice 25-year age statement on there. The whiskey's like pretty much a home run with almost any style drinker for Scotch. It's not, it's just a beautiful down the middle, great tasting whiskey with some sherry on it.
Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff. Trying with a little bit more water now. Great.
There it is. There it is with no water. See that color
quite
change?
A bit of water. Oh, I love that. Now it goes super fruity, pure apricot, fresh apricot now. This is gorgeous.
Yeah. 452 bottles, it looks like.
That's a big fat cask. I think we took everything they had. This isn't one that was bottled exclusively for us. This is the 70 CLs, the 700 mLs.
Taking advantage of whatever they had that was good stuff and previously bottled in another format. We've got a few casks like that this year, right?
Yep. All of the old and rare stuff.
Is it all of it?
Maybe
700s, I think, in the old.
The Tullibardin we did.
Yeah, I think we got the whole cask of that.
And well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
you want to? I know you've got a little extra single malt there that I didn't bring a bottle with me.
I'll save it to the end.
All right, we'll hang on to that. We'll make the switch to rum, huh?
Yeah, two Jamaican powerhouses here.
How wild are these two rums, man?
So fucking awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to use F-bombs here. This is a 19-year-old Hamden C Diamond H. This is the real deal. 1,100 plus parts per million. Ester count. Aged almost entirely on the continent, so doesn't have that wood extraction that you get from the Hamden estate.
The color is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just like
there's a lot of sort of controversy within particularly the rum producing world. I think it's less controversial in the rum drinking world about whether continentally aged rum. Oh my God, I can smell it from here. It's so nuts.
It blows the room up. I poured my glasses maybe like a half hour ago.
It's taken over everything.
Yeah, I mean the whole room just like the rums are nuts.
Yeah, and
we can't use the name of this distillery at all anymore, right?
No, there's no name on there, but I'm happy to tell everybody it's Hamden. It's obvious. We just can't put it on the label. We refer to it as the top pots because I just like calling it that. But it is. I mean, this is the best traditional rum in the world, and I was saying there is this sort of controversy whether continental or aged on site. Of course, in Scotland, we would never even consider taking Scotch out of Scotland and aging it somewhere else.
Well, Michel Couvreur.
Well, I mean, Michel Couvreur does. Yeah, of course. And there's, but they can't call it Scotch. So
yeah, absolutely.
But
whiskey
that said,
yes, there is more coming on the Samarolis.
So I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb. So this is really that traditional continental aging. You don't see that extraction you'll get on the Hamden Estates, and you don't have the wood influence, which means less interaction with the esters, so more of those loose esters and more intensity. Oh, So nuts. I don't have a good
Comparing,
frame of reference to compare. How's this compared to Eldorado 15? Well,
it doesn't.
it's very different.
It's if you taste them side by side, they don't even feel like the same category of spirit, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean Eldorado, and actually the more modern Eldorados have taken the sugar out. They used to be quite sweet. Eldorado is really some of the components of Eldorado, particularly the Port Morant, would start to come toward this in style with the higher esters. But Eldorado is a blend of multiple different rums, each mark being quite distinct from the next. And so they don't really represent a style that's a singular style that the Jamaicans do. The Jamaicans distinguish based on ester levels, and of course in Guyana they can produce very high esters. In fact, they can technically produce the highest ester rums. I was able to taste a 10,000 part per million ester rum at the blending at El Dorado, at Diamond Estate, at their blending facility.
When
it
were you
was
down there?
Horrible. Years ago.
Yeah, that must have been super gnarly.
It's basically it ruins your senses.
Yeah.
So you smell it and you basically go blind. Like it blurred my vision.
That's the kind of thing you would just put an eyedropper into a bottle of perfume sort of deal, right? I mean, that's mostly what that's getting used for.
What they do is they cut that with their local, that's to give it's kind of like their J. Ray and nephew. So they take that super high ester rum and they cut it with light rum to produce the local, what they call high wine, which is sold in these plastic little red bottles. It's just gnarly stuff. But
that's wild. I would love to taste that. That's a trip. We need to get down there. We've got
we were trying to do a blend for the store, a fault line. They never came through. We got a couple other questions here. Oh, someone's asking about so the Italians have had a long tradition of bottling these sorts of rums. Someone's asking about Samaroli and of course Silver Seal, Max in Italy. Yeah, we're very, very lucky to be getting some of those in. Those should be in by the end of the year. So this is quite different from El Dorado. The next one we taste, I think, will be a little bit closer, a little bit more like a Port Morant style. Yes, all of the stuff we've been drinking is available online. We call it the Top Pots. Golden Devil 19-year Jamaica. I think I have it in parentheses, Hamden. I might have. They're getting a little worried about that stuff.
I think it was, and we pulled it. I just have to second Money MV there. Cody in the customer service department, absolutely awesome. My desk is about 10 feet from Cody when I'm in the Rose City store, and he is just lights out. So
it's a sweetheart, right?
Thank you for your feedback. Totally appreciate it.
Yeah, we love that.
We've established I have to point out my beautiful spit cup that my cousin made.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you make that by hand?
My cousin made it for me as a Christmas gift years ago before I was in the booze business, just as a vase, but it's like the perfect spit cup.
Big Shanto, iFloat. There you go. Actually, the Hamden opens with water. This one loves water. This is high proof stuff. This is 59.3.
You can hit that pretty hard, and it'll still. I mean, there's so much flavor.
So much going on.
Awesome in a cocktail.
Of course,
it's like steroids in a cocktail.
Until recently, people wouldn't ever have consumed this straight. Like this was for blending or for perfuming or for baking. Like you wouldn't have used it. This would have not been consumed.
Yeah,
by itself,
not for human consumption.
Exactly.
I think to me that's one of the most exciting things about what's going on in the spirits world in general is that there's people are they're interested in everything, right? And so suddenly there is a market for things like this because the flavors are wild. They're totally nuts. You can have this experience that is otherwise impossible by being able to bottle a cask of this and have an outlet to sell it. It makes sense to do. Whereas historically, there's just nothing to do with it. You can't do anything from a consumption standpoint. So I love that people are getting more into the, particularly in the rum world, the super crazy high esters. The rum geeks have been at it for a while, but it's getting to the point where we can actually sell a whole cask of it and it makes sense to do.
Absolutely. And I think it's rum is particularly difficult because it's so complicated. Rum makes whiskey look simple, and whiskey's complicated. So, and it's a little bit of a simplification because there's so much going on. There's so much blending. There's so much. But Jamaica, in a lot of ways, particularly the traditional distillers, it's a good sort of metaphor to sort of treat them a little bit like Isla. Like you have these flavors that are so intense and powerful. And that's often how I sell them. It's like, if you love the intensity of an Ardbeg or a Lafroig, there's a good chance you're going to pick up a Hamden or a High Ester, Worthy Park or something like that and go, oh, I get it. I understand how why these spirits are so special.
But they are the kind of thing where if you're not into that, you might just be outright offended when you smell it and go, oh my God, why would anybody drink this?
I'm surprised my wife hasn't said anything. Normally when I open these from across the house, she's like, no, you cannot drink that here.
Yeah, my wife hates when I drink peated scotch, and the funky rums are on the list.
They're coming next. I've got her into she's sort of to getting down with some of the Lagavulin and Lafroig now. It used to be the same with me, but now now it's the funky rums that are
nice.
Money's asking, what are your guys' thoughts on a lot of craft whiskey companies doing finished whiskeys? Good Times, New Lou, Starlight. If they're good, we'll sell them.
Yeah, some of them are fantastic. Some of them aren't. So if they're really bad, we just don't buy them.
Yeah, my biggest problem with those, like, I don't really love the idea of paying more for a finish that doesn't make it better. It's like, okay, it's good, but now I'm paying more than your normal stuff, and it's not actually better. And the problem with bourbon is there's so much flavor there already. Like, I feel like that's why finishes work better with malt, because it's more subtle, and so you're adding layers to something that maybe isn't as complete or intense. And with bourbon, you've already got all these flavors, sweetness, spice. You've got the whole sort of spectrum, and then you're adding more on top of that, and it just becomes muddled. But
if you had to pick, what's your favorite finished bourbon? I don't know that I have one, but if you had to pick one, what is it?
Oh God, I mean, I think Money just noted that the toasted finishes are much more successful because they're adding a layer of nuance around the oak, whereas a lot of the finished bourbons, I think, become overwrought. But God, I don't know. I don't really like that stuff, but don't tell everybody. Let me think. The single cask strength Angel's Envy that we picked out while you were away were really
I'm a little sad that I didn't get a chance to taste those, but
I have the samples. I'll send them up to you.
Perfect. I have them all. Yeah, I was pretty excited about getting that project going, and here we are. I can't wait till
here we are.
I'm
trying to think of some people love Magnus. Yeah, the Magnus can be very, very good.
Yeah, I think they do. They do a very good job on their wine finishes. Although I do love when they just sell us great unfinished barrels. Although that
I know 13-year-old MGP.
That pipeline seems to have dried up. I ask at least once a month, hey, what's going on? Any more barrels available? Nothing.
Jason mentioned the Armagnac finish. That Armagnac finish, I loved it. The High West.
The High
West has been, I think, pretty careful to put out, or at least we've been lucky to get stuff.
Yeah, we've definitely been offered some real weird ones from High West. But did you ever taste their gin barrel finished one?
I did taste that, and the Akavit.
Very, very odd, but I was tempted to do it, but I thought it was a little bit too weird to pull off. But they were,
I think those are more interesting than they are actually delicious.
Yeah, exactly. They can be very, very good, but they can also be like, oh, it's a little weird.
I thought the Armagnac finish was pretty good. The Carcaveos finish, we have those were sick. I still have a cask. I think a cask of rye coming. Carcaveos. That's
I,
just
I
outrageous.
do appreciate that the scramble in the whiskey industry for unique finishes, because they're marketable from the distillery's perspective, has brought some great wine producing regions to light, like Carcavelos, that maybe were not very well known before.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's cool.
yeah.
Live to Swim. We haven't gotten the Act 9, the midwinter yet. Have you had any up there? I don't
Nope,
know
nothing
if
yet.
is midwinter gone all distillery only now? I thought maybe it had. No,
I don't
maybe not.
think so. I believe they moved Campfire to distillery only, which I thought was a little bit odd. But and then I think they
Wow.
dropped Yippee Ki altogether, right?
Seems I know they dropped Boo Rye.
Yeah, but
Boo Rye's
I think
got.
Midwinter is still supposed to be seeing distribution. I feel like it's normally more November,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and we usually get one or two takes at it. So we'll
Yeah, we
see.
do get pretty well with that stuff. All right, onward.
Yeah,
New Yarmouth,
this
26 year. This is bonkers.
this is absolutely epic. I think this might be one. Tough to say, but this is definitely in like the top 3 rum casts we've ever done.
It's incredible, and it's so rare to find. I mean, this is basically J. Ray. So this is 300 part column distilled medium ester rums that
Smells
were
so good.
aged in. Obviously, you can see the difference in color on island. So at least for part of the time, they weren't able to tell us what part. And now we're starting to get the effect of that tropical aging there, the much more obvious wood, spice, that crazy tropical fruit, mango.
The fruit is absolutely insane on this, and it stands up against such a big wood profile that the craziest thing about both of these rums to me is how, and this type of rum in general, is how much flavor you can pack into a single item. It is so big and so robust, but each of those things kind of stands up on its own. You've got like this almost incredible like candied peaches with like burnt peppercorn and like roasted spices, and it's earthy and sweet and like just all of these things all at once. It's totally nuts.
Yeah, I there's some good questions here. Lucas asked about whether it's fresh cane or molasses. That's a complicated question. We actually think of Jamaican rum as being molasses based, but actually in something like the high ester Hamden, molasses is only one tiny portion of the total ingredients. They will use some fresh pressed cane. They will use some muck, which is the
cane vinegar.
cane vinegar, exactly. All these other things that go in, and that brings us to this other question about ppm and esters. So similar to sour mashing in bourbon and maybe peating in scotch, the process of using dunder to and muck, which is only Hamden use that, but dunder is the use of the spent lees, the leftover solids from distillation, basically dead yeast and bacteria being added back in, so they kind of become a fuel for other bacteria and all
They're
these other
very
chemicals.
very low pH, right? Super high acid stuff
And
that's going in there.
this really, what it does is make for a more complex fermentation, where you're not just having alcohol yeast, beverage yeast creating alcohol. You have bacteria eating that yeast and eating the alcohol and eating the sugars and creating acids of various kinds and all these complex chemicals. The ppm we talk about is only one of many chemicals that are created in this process, and when those esters are created, they give you these super aromatic chemicals, some like butyric acid and these other things that are very pungent. And if you taste a white Jamaican high ester rum, you'll get these super funky flavors. But if you put wood and oxygen then those esters change into long chain esters, which are going to give you the pineapple and the coconut and those mango flavors. And that's what's special about the esters, is that you have, they're just extremely pungent, aromatic flavor chemicals. So
super intense bouquet.
Yeah, indeed. So that, I hope that sort of answered your question about ppm. It's a reference to one of the chemicals that's created in this process. And someone like New Yarmouth would be using dunder and mostly molasses, not doing the muck pits.
What is the difference between dunder and muck? I feel like you hear both often, but you don't. Description from the producers anyway about exactly what's going on there is sort of a hush hush kind of secret. Oh, you froze. Can you hear me?
Too. You're good. I can hear everything.
All right.
So the dunder is a reference to the spent lees after distillation. Up until relatively recently, before there's only one distillery that's really using muck pits any longer, and that would be Hamden, and so that is basically a way to cultivate the bacteria in a separate process that's similar to a souring step in bourbon. So they're taking dunder, they're taking other biological waste, they're putting it in a pit, they're adding, I believe,
biological waste,
lye,
right? Yeah,
to actually raise the pH, I believe, to create an environment for this particular set of fauna or to grow, and then that is cultivated and then sometimes aged for years even. So they'll have an active muck pit that they use for distillation, and then maybe they'll cover it and then they put like a cross on it. It's crazy looking, but they're really the only ones using it. This would have been traditional everywhere. Everybody else is creating it, the esters, different ester levels through long fermentations and the use of dunder, but I don't think they're using muck pits.
Do you know when the last muck pit outside of Hamden disappeared?
I couldn't say for sure. No, I know that
somebody's got to have the answer out there for that, right?
Yeah, you probably find it on one of the rum blogs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of detail in there. I know that when I was at Diamond Estate, they said that they do run a muck pit for their super high ester. It's deep in the jungle, and they like often finding like dead birds and stuff in there. It's crazy. Andrew, you sold Chuck his first bottle of Fuente Seca Blanco.
That is a life-changing bottle.
The old one.
Yeah, what was it, the 2013? I threw a few of those in the bunker, but I think I've got a bottle and a half left, maybe.
I definitely drank my bottle of that. Should have bought more.
Although the new one, the Altania, is very, very good.
Well, New Yarmouth is freaking insane.
What's our retail on that? I should have written all these.
It's so expensive, rightfully so.
$250,
something like that.
Yeah,
this is also 60.
A lot of money, but
yeah, no, but it's so good. It's so worth it.
Insane.
I'm going to raise the price today, though. It's not expensive enough. It's also 67% alcohol, which is nuts. 66 point.
But
3. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's shockingly drinkable even without water.
You don't need the water, but the water it's fun to play with water on this. Like this one really is it really swims nicely.
Lucas, I think that's a fabulous question that I wish the answer to was yes. He asked, is rum on the verge of a craft spirit renaissance like whiskey has seen? And, there are certainly many, many craft producers in the United States now making rum. But rum is a long, complex haul. You've got it, as David mentioned earlier, it's insanely complicated how many different styles of rum you have, different types of production. There's no generally accepted regulation, and so you've got everything from like heavy additives, sickly sweets, to these crazy wild Jamaican rums, and literally everything in between: pot still, column still, fresh cane juice, reduced cane juice, syrups, molasses, different grades of molasses. Like, there's so much that goes into it, and you can get some really, really great rums out there, and there are lots of wonderful craft rums being produced, but it's such a complicated market.
Are there, Andrew?
There are.
Really?
There are. There's some.
I don't know.
All right, there are some really good
lots.
ones.
There's like
I don't know about lots.
of
There
great
are
craft.
some really good ones.
There's a couple of good ones.
There's a few,
I find that the craft.
There's at least
here's
one.
The problem with. There's at least one good one. Here's the problem with craft whiskey, with craft rum, and it's not so dissimilar with the problem with craft whiskey.
Yeah.
Is that they're up against something that is, rum in general is so complex, but I mean, something like Hamden Estate, which has this 400-year history and can give you an 8-year-old tropically aged high ester rum for $50 on the shelf. Like, that's insane. It's so good and so affordable for what it is. I actually think those products, although they're not available right now, which is really sad, are some of the best products of any kind in spirits, period, dollar for dollar. Boom.
Yeah,
so like,
I totally agree.
So, the other problem is, because rum is not really about distillation. It's about fermentation. It's about blending. It's about all this other stuff, which, to be frank, no offense to any craft distillers who might be watching this, it's not really in a lot of people's playbooks. The craft distiller out there is usually trying to distill clean and trying to distill, get good sugar conversions and do it by the book. And like, rum is not by the book. Like,
right, it's funky, it's weird, and it's the artistry is in putting it together.
Yeah, if you're not doing that, then you're making Bacardi, and
right.
you're not going to be Bacardi at Bacardi. Like, that doesn't happen. That's not. You're not. There's no point. Like, why would you do that? I don't get why anyone makes a light rum. Period. A light, column distilled white rum. It's crazy. Why would a craft distiller do that?
It's relatively easy to make, and you get I think the problem that craft rum runs into, that craft whiskey is starting to surmount, is that, you're, for so long, you're limited to the fact that you're local and like cool to your local market. Like, oh, great, these guys are in my hometown. Yeah, it's really good. It's a fun visit. But is the product really that's coming out as good as some, either big name brand stuff that's been doing it for 400 years, or like totally wild, like, I don't know. And then when you're $50 for a light white rum, like, it becomes expensive, and you can't grow
Lucas
that
notes,
outside of your local market in any reasonable
Lucas
way.
says Hamden is a craft distillery. Hamden is the most craft. It is the craftiest of craft. It's as if like Ardbeg just didn't change anything for 300 years. Like that. That's what's happened in some of these rum distilleries. Same with Rivers. Same with. I mean, there are a couple of these guys who really haven't. If anybody hasn't had it, there's the Rivers Estate Grenadine rum on our website right now, which is a water powered single estate, 100% in house. They make their own molasses. I mean, it's like the most craft of all the craft. It's never been sold in the United States. Just showed up. It's expensive, and rightfully so. It's freaking amazing. So that's what domestic craft rum producers are up against.
Yeah, it's a steep hill to climb.
And then we haven't even talked about Barbados, which makes exquisite rum without the high ester thing, pot stilled rum. So, it's a complicated. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for American craft producers to get anywhere close. Lost Spirits does some really, really interesting stuff. What you think about that? I think his rums are his best product for sure. Clarence and Haiti, incredible stuff, very affordable, very, very delicious, very complex.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll see rum going, is more, not as much, no disrespect to the people in the US who are creating new rum distilleries, which I think is exciting, and like I said, there are a few that I really like. But I think we'll see, as a worldwide interest in spirit to grow and this kind of search for traditional product, we'll see more things like Haitian Clairin kind of coming to market, because it is a viable market now for this old, long-standing tradition of spirits making that just has never been consumed by anybody outside of Haiti, basically. And so finally we're seeing the economics of starting a Clairin brand make some sense. And
well, so just the interest, just the fact
exactly.
that someone is even considering drinking that. Yeah.
Not unlike what we saw with, mezcal and other agave spirits, right?
Totally.
It's like people looking for maybe moving away from some tequila into like, I want super old school traditional. And there are some tequila producers that still do that, but you walk into a Palenque in Oaxaca or in the outskirts somewhere, and that's a pretty wild experience. And you feel connected to history when you're there. You feel connected to it when you drink it. And that's the kind of thing that I think makes craft really difficult, particularly when you're competing against places that have been around for 400 years and have that history. But I do think that it's coming. It'll be really slow, but I think we'll, as more people get interested in rum, it'll happen.
Yeah. There's always privateer.
Yeah.
What's going on with privateer?
We have a new, I just was talking to Andrew Cabot the other day. We have new samples on the way for Letter of Marque, which is their single cask program. The Letter of Marque that we have in stock right now is lights out. I think there's only maybe 60 bottles left or something. But that's dynamite. If you haven't opened a bottle of that, by the way, you should. It's very, very good.
Which one? The Letters?
The Letter of Marque that's in stock. It's their heavy rum. God, it's been a while since I've looked. I have to look at the cask details. I think they're all up on the website, but it is delicious. And we should have a re-up on all their core items on the next shipment as well. So
Well, guys, we've reached an hour pretty quickly. And I opened this greedily, which Andrew wasn't able to get a sample of.
Very upset that I didn't bring that home.
I'll pour off samples for you because this is quite fancy. This is the 31-year-old Ardmore, which is a distillery a lot of people, really are interested in. I think these days we don't see a lot from the distillery. It's a medium to high peat, cask strength, single barrel hoggy at 50.2. Beautiful color, golden, and I'm not even going to hang out with you guys while I drink. I'm just going to enjoy this. But that Ardmore, I'll send you a sample, Andrew, so you can have some. And
you can everybody can read the notes on the website.
Yeah, there are lots of good notes. This was a fun tasting, Andrew. I really enjoyed having you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Instagram's not my strong suit. I think I was looking as I logged in today. My last post is from Christmas, I think, of last year. So I should probably work on that.
Nah, forget it. Just come hang out here. This is always fun.
Yeah.
And any questions from you guys? Oh, I think it's Dodgers in 4. What? Don't you think?
That doesn't sound right at all.
I think it's Dodgers in 4.
I do think we should finalize a wager. How about one of those new the new price on Springbank's a little rough, but the whiskeys are still good. You want to bet a bottle of Springbank 10-year on the series?
I don't. No, I don't want. It's too rich for my blood.
I want to make you feel bad when you have to pay me for it when the Giants.
I'm gonna make it's gonna be more a censure. The loser has to buy a bottle of Blondies. Dodgers in 3.
I shipped all of our remaining Blondies to David Driscoll's door. Yeah, he can have it all back.
That's awesome. Oh, I hope David's here. 5-game series. It can't be done.
I think it will be good baseball at the very least. I'm really sad about Brandon Belt's thumb, but I'm sure we'll find a way to score a few runs anyway. So.
Ooh, someone's asking about spirits. How is the Teal Romero that just came back in stock? It's
Oh,
freaking fabulous.
So good. Holy shite, it's good.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Remarkable. A really spectacular batch of mezcal. Don't miss that. I think there's only just over 100 bottles, I think, and that's the last of the batch. It was a batch that was made.
Yeah, they were like
celebrations there. They weren't even going to sell it to us.
Yeah, they told us they were like not going to sell it to us, but then they were like, okay, we'll sell it.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Someone says winning team gets a single barrel for the local store. Well, we already got plenty of those, obviously. But thank you for both being here. Welcome back from vacation. Thank you, Kilton Chef. What a pleasure. Back-to-back champs, LA. Hell yeah.
Nice news.
Romero,
Can't be Bourbon ever again. God, I hope so, but it's
no.
they're few and far.
They offered us one. They offered us a 23-year. It would have it penciled out to about $700.
$700 a bottle.
Yeah. So if Crash Dard, oh, is that Dardash? Oh yeah, David. Hey, buddy.
Baker's barrels are coming. I just heard. That's the thing.
That's great. Ooh,
yeah.
My wife just said fire, fire, fire. I love when my wife watches. David's here. Hey, David. I wish I could have hung out with you last time you were in the store. I was so busy. Anyway, this Ardmore is really, really good, guys.
Yeah, send me a large pour off of that if you'd be so kind.
So Handsome Curtis asked about Kleinleach. We did buy a Kleinleach barrel from Hunter Lang. We bought a blind. It's old and very expensive. And somehow the barrel only yielded 9 cases. So that's upsetting. So those will be coming. I don't know. I don't think we'll sell them pre-arrival, unfortunately.
No, we didn't list any of them pre, right?
No. And we have a 25-year-old Cragganmore and Sherry that is also coming from them, which will be fabulous.
Yeah.
Baker's singles, we're waiting for samples on all those.
Yeah, that's not going to be until next year. I don't think we're going to see any of those for the holidays, but
no, nothing. It doesn't make sense to.
At this point, I don't even know if we're going to see things for the holidays that we ordered in like March. So,
no.
Good news though for anybody who's waiting on Old Forester. The NorCal Old Forester barrel proof pick should be in next week.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yes, Robert, the Springbank 10-year is coming. The price is very high.
Yes, unfortunately, price keeps going up on Springbank. Between it being Springbank and world shipping what it is, there you have it. We're doing the best we can to fight on pricing, but it's not great. As for the buttercream frosting, I did actually pick it out of, I think I had 3 barrels to choose from on that, and it struck me as that much better than the other 2. I'm usually picking the larceny barrels. It's like, oh, they're all really good, and yeah, you'll like one better for some random reason, but that particular cask really jumped out as a much kind of richer, sweeter cask. So that's the one I chose. There you go.
What's Andrew? What are you going to list the new Springbank 10-year at?
I think it's $90.
Yeah, $90.
Yeah, it's not great. But...
Baker singles, are those 7s or 11s?
7s. No word on the 11.
I saw someone had an 11.
Really?
There's an 11. Yeah. You should ask Glenn.
I'm gonna
check with Glenn.
Glenn, if you're on here, I need to know more.
There's an 11 out there. Larceny barrel picks, some of the best values in bourbon. Totally. They used to just sit there until Andrew put a name on them.
It's funny. It did. The name just came to me while I was tasting. I was like, oh, it tastes like buttercream frosting. I'm gonna have to go for it. And
Austin doesn't care for larceny. That's
I think
okay.
there are still there's still a dozen bottles of our previous cast that's serial number blah 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 blah.
Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
If you're looking for great value, those larceny single barrels are tough to beat.
Yeah.
Costco San Diego has one. Oh boy.
Good. I'm sure it's lovely.
Yeah. Buy it if you see it.
Buy it.
Yeah. All right, man.
Oh my God, it's Ardmore, Andrew.
Ardmore. I'm gonna be very upset if I don't see a sample of that next week.
You're gonna get the sample. All right, friends. Any other big questions before we go? We'll be back next week. Someone won a bottle of Thomas Handy last time. and I will let you know who soon. All right, and next week we'll have something else. I don't know. We've got something. I think there's someone on the show next week. It might be, I forget. It might be Jim Beam or someone's coming on. I can't remember.
Nice.
Maybe it's the week after. Anyway, whatever. Maybe Andrew will come back. You never know.
Maybe
On here.
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll see. I may have to come back to razz you about Giants victory. So
Good luck, buddy. Good luck.
go Giants.
See. Go Dodgers.
We'll see you all soon. Hopefully in store if you haven't been back in store.
Yeah, come on down. There's
We'll
always
see you
something
during
fun.
the holidays.
Not Driscoll. No, not Driscoll. David. OG. That's me. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Later.
See you now.
Bye.
Go Dodgers.